Good afternoon. It is Thursday, June 19th, and I don't know about y'all, but I seriously cannot believe that 2025 is just about to the halfway mark, which means for all of y'all who are going to tune in today, it's time for your checkup. And you didn't want to do this any more than anybody else did because it's hard to take a look at June and realize that half the year has gotten away and maybe your business isn't doing what you thought it would do. But maybe you've had some wins and maybe your personal life is still a hot dumpster fire of drama, but maybe it's gotten better. So as we get going here today, remember this is our mid-year KickTail check-in. If you were with me way back at the beginning of 20 and 25, I do this business planning session of sorts. It's Leigh Brown style, so it's not really normal. And you had the chance to get your thoughts and brain together for 2025. And now we're going to see where you are in the process. So if you did not watch the KickTail live hour-long process, you can go find it on my YouTube channel. I probably should have put the link here, but I'm a realtor and I forget things. So if we've never met and you happen to click on this because you saw a little live button, hey friends, I'm Leigh Brown. I'm here in Concord, North Carolina in my One Community Real Estate office. And today we'll talk to you small businesses about where you are. Now, here's where we're going to start. If you're logged in right now, I need you to start with the positive news. So put something happy in the comments. Tell me something you have done this year that you meant to do. And I don't care if it was get up out of the bed one extra morning or if it was get up 30 minutes earlier. Those are wins too. And especially in an entrepreneur business where you frankly don't know what your day is going to bring. I want to see some wins. So let me click over to my comments here so I can see some of the wins. Now, y'all submitted these to me earlier today, and I'm just going to tell y'all what some of your friends have had as wins. We had somebody that had 6 closings in May. High five, friend. That's amazing. Oh, Carrie, you went full time. Let's go. Let's go. That's a hard decision to make. So yay, you. Somebody in here went full-time follow through on their CRM, client relationship manager. And listen here, Jeff, I've got the coolest tool I just got introduced to, and it's changing our lives over here. Oh, let's see. Somebody is doing better after some illnesses. She is doing better with health. So that's amazing as a praise there. Here's somebody that got recognized in the top percentage in her marketplace, but she'd like to go up a notch. I always love that confidence and competitive nature. Here's somebody who is moving to a new building after 4 years of owning a company and renting. How about that? Star, you got your LLC. I'm so proud. Yay. And y'all, if you would just say a prayer that Star decides to be One Community Real Estate in Western North Carolina, I would appreciate that because I feel like she could kill it, but I'm just going to speak it into existence. All right. So put your wins in here. It's very important, y'all, when you're going to look at your business. When you have a hard moment of understanding that your sales aren't really what you wanted, or maybe they were, but you feel like it's not as good as you could have done, it's important to celebrate whatever your win is. With my 20-year-old daughter, I tell her tiny wins. We're looking for a tiny win every day because that's what keeps you going in the morning. And let's see, Steve got his last rental house fully fixed this month after Helene. Dude, that's amazing. And I should probably tell y'all that Western North Carolina is still in need of your love and help. And if you happen to be a North Carolina realtor on here today, I'm going to give you a treat, something you can put into your newsletter or into your phone calls. And the treat is that the state has finally made available the federal HUD money for repair and replace houses. That link is renewnc.org. I think you ought to get on the phone if you are a North Carolina realtor and tell your people the money's available. Get on there and apply for it. That's renewnc.org. And I guess I should put it over here in the links because I didn't tell anybody to do that in advance. So I will do it. Boomski, boomski. Marie, you got on LinkedIn. Way to go. All right. So now let's talk about where you are in your business. I can tell y'all right now that real estate's weird and there's no other way to describe it. So if somebody says, how's the market? The answer right now should be, it depends. It's uneven. It's all over the place because in the first half of 2025, a lot of buyers have been waiting for prices to fall off a cliff. They haven't. They've waited for interest rates to go back to 3%. They're not going to. And a lot of sellers have tried to figure out, well, are the prices still good like during the COVID years, or are we in a challenging space? So whenever the markets are uneven, you become more valuable. Do you realize that? This kind of market, which is uncomfortable and you can't control anything, is when realtors have the most value. By the way, if you've logged in and you're not a realtor, you got to look at your profession and figure out, where in the world do I have the most value? That's what leadership looks like. Leadership looks like you taking a step back, having a look at your life, your business, your nonprofit, whatever you work in, and saying, okay, what is happening outside of here? What are the external factors? And then what can I control? And the biggest thing you can control, attitude. It's those little wins. So let's figure out how we get the word out about what we do, no matter what's happening outside of us. So let me start with one of the questions here. Since I mentioned that the real estate market is uneven, I did have somebody who said, how do you convince Zillow experts that they do not know more than I do? All right. So first of all, if you're going to overcome any expert, whether it's Zillow, Zillow's premier agents, AI, your friendly neighborhood realtor down the street that you respect, or the less than friendly real estate expert down the street that you would like to pluck all their eyelashes out, but you shouldn't, because that would not be the good Christian thing to do. And so when you're faced with trying to establish yourself as an expert, I want you to figure out what you bring to the table. This is the hardest thing for entrepreneurs to do, especially when you're busy and you're trying to do 1,000 things. What knowledge do you bring to the table? I'm going to pick on, oh, hey, Massachusetts. Stephen, I was in Boston earlier this week and they said I had an accent. And I said, y'all do. So what I will tell you is that you've got to know what you're an expert about. I'm going to pick on Star Franklin here because she is a good realtor friend of mine. She's here in the foothills of Western North Carolina. And Star is wildly involved with the political environment in her town of Valdez. That doesn't mean she's a political partisan hack, crazy nut job. What that means is she's involved politically. She knows all the players. She talks to all the players. When there is a discussion about an apartment complex, she's going to bring a real estate opinion to it. When she's talking to somebody about planning and zoning, she's going to be able to say, here's the impact on roads and schools and real estate. If you want to beat out other experts, know something that they don't know. I'm going to tell y'all right now, a lot of real estate professionals stay away from politics. Well, just remember that politics is not necessarily what's happening in DC. That is a distraction, takes your eye off the ball. I want you to focus locally. I want you to know what's happening with housing supply, what's happening with jobs, are they coming or going, what's happening with taxes, because all of those things impact your clients. That's something that most of your competitors will never look at. And spoiler alert, AI can never explain the local political environment around you, and neither can any website. So start setting apart what you do that's different. That means when you're meeting with that prospective seller or that prospective buyer, you're going to tell them, hey, if you want to live here, it's amazing. Boom, boom, boom. Here are the things to watch out for. Boom, boom, boom. It's not a negative. It is knowledge. So don't think of yourself as being negative. Think of yourself as bringing knowledge to the table. Now, when you're talking about these Zillow experts, you should also know that the biggest challenge Zillow has introduced to the real estate market, in my opinion, is that people have been trained to think that houses are priced per square foot. That's not how you price a house. And if you're a realtor who goes to a listing appointment and talking per square foot, you got to stop it, because that is an indicator of value. It is not the indicator of value. There are so many other things that go into that very obscure, not specific, not hard science of price in a house. It could be the condition, could be the desirability of the neighborhood. It could be some special lot. It could be that grandma wants to live near her grands, and so that house matters more to her, especially if it has features that would allow for aging in place. So you start figuring out the factors that could impact a buyer's decision, and then could convince an appraiser, a certified residential appraiser, that this house does have value in these items. None of that's going to be reflected in per square foot. So get your knowledge bank really high. By the way, if you are a less seasoned realtor, you're newer to this, your broker should absolutely be helping you figure out how to do pricing on houses. And if they're not, I'm just saying. All right, there's another question here that says, how do you help sellers understand price when the market's changing? All right, this is going to go all the way back to the first time you meet with a home seller. They need to understand that this market is different than 20 and 24, which is different than 23, 22, 21, 2019. Every market is unique and different. The challenge we have right now is that we do have some hiccups in buyer confidence. What's causing the hiccup in buyer confidence? Well, there's new listings hitting the market. We have more inventory. In the Charlotte, North Carolina market, we're seeing a little bounce rate right now where a buyer's under contract and then they get distracted. And what I will tell you is that your buyers need to know that they can spend money getting distracted over and over, and no house is perfect, but your sellers need to know that this could happen to them. Part of the reason sellers don't understand this is because you never told them. You didn't tell them that buyer might bounce. You didn't tell them that the markets are shifty and weird, and especially uneven, price point by price point and zip code by zip code. So when you're at that first meeting, you got to let your sellers know that pricing is fluid, and the number we have today may not be the number we get tomorrow. Now, it does not mean that prices are falling off a cliff, but it does mean that a neighbor who's more aggressive than they are could impact their pricing. Now, what might make somebody be aggressive? Well, relocation, divorce, estate sales. There's reasons that people say, you know what, I'll take a haircut on my equity because I got to go. The minute they do that, they are setting a precedent in the neighborhood. So be the person who understands how to explain all these things so your sellers don't think it's personal, because it's not. You didn't design the pricing. The buyers didn't design the pricing. It's the market. The market is all over the place. And the most important thing you'll say as a realtor is that the number I give you today may not be the number we get tomorrow. Now, if the seller doesn't want to negotiate and they said, yes, but we want this price way up here, and we are going to wait because it only takes one buyer, and we don't care what the data says, you as a professional have a decision to make. Are you going to attach yourself to something that's out of line because your reputation's on the line with this? Or are you going to say to them, I don't agree with you. I appreciate you, love the opportunity, but I can't do this, and close your laptop and go. It's a very hard thing to do. However, you can't make a market. No realtor can make a market. I don't care if the seller thinks it's worth more than the market shows. If the market price shows $500,000 and the seller wants $700,000, you and I know that's not going to happen, which means actually taking that listing at the higher price is a violation of the Realtor Code of Ethics. Did y'all know that? That's Standard of Practice 1.3, that sellers shall not knowingly mislead or deliberately mislead a property owner as to market value. When you allow somebody to list it way above market, that's misleading them. So I want you to think about these things as you talk to people. Now, the seller who doesn't want to negotiate might be telling you they don't really want to sell. Well, as a realtor, you don't make any money unless a house sells. So you can give them all your data, give them your best presentation. They don't have to take it, but you don't have to take the listing either, because you're going to be out of pocket with your time and energy, your knowledge, the photos, the drone, the sign, all the pieces. So you have decisions to make. And by the way, the mainstream media doesn't understand this. And so when they tell people that realtors aren't worth anything, they don't understand that you're coming out of pocket most of the time. So you've got to make good business decisions. And that's all I can tell you about that. Some sellers just need to be educated. Some are stubborn. And frankly, some never met a realtor who knew what they were talking about. So you're going to have to be an elevated kind of professional. All right. Okay, here's a tricky one. How do you deal with agents that are bringing sloppy offers to your sellers, as in not properly or fully put together? Oh, ain't that a crazy one? Well, the first thing I would say to that agent is, thank you so much for bringing me an offer. However, we have some gaps in the offer to purchase. We have blanks in here. So could you please reach out to your broker and make sure that this has been presented properly? Because in North Carolina, at least, the head broker is a supervising broker, and they need to know if their agent is putting forth offers that aren't completely filled out. Now, I know that you wish you could tell their client that they picked a sloppy realtor, but you can't do that because you don't know the buyer, and it's also a violation of Code of Ethics. But you can call the broker and make sure that they're alerted as to what's going on. Unfortunately, there's not a way for the public to know when they've stumbled upon a bad agent and they've gotten connected to them. They're just going to have to see it, unfortunately, in the process, unless they happen to watch this video. And if you have questions about your agent, don't call me, call your agent and say, I have questions, because I watched this live stream and I'm not even in real estate. Okay. Oh, somebody did say, how do you price a house correctly in this crazy market? What I will tell you is what I learned decades ago. We have range pricing. In fact, I think it was Prudential Real Estate's whole business model was on range pricing. Somebody can tell me in the comments if I am right about that. I think it was Prudential, but I don't even think they have real estate anymore. They don't have them in Charlotte. But I remember the best, one of the best here in Charlotte was Tracy Gentry. He's still in the business. Amazing realtor, one of the best you'll ever deal with. And he was the king of range pricing. And so because I'm the person who's a sponge, like, that's really smart. I learned what they did from within my own company. So a range says based on the comps, based on the market, it could go as low as here and as high as here. And then the seller gets to pick from the menu of pricing, no different than if they're at the Golden Corral. Now, if you want to talk about what leadership looks like walking in the door and saying, I understand that there are options, and here they all are. Leading from a place of abundance is great for your business because it lets the person across the table have a little agency in this process. And that is a good thing, my friends, a really good thing, because you shared with them the whole menu. You told them, here's what happens here, here's what happens here. And now they've seen a big picture. So when you're discussing the big picture, you're going to ask them a question. And I like to do this with a pen and paper. So let me get a pen and paper, which is tricky on a realtor's desk to find something that's not been scribbled on already. So here's a notepad, all right? You're going to draw a line like this, straight across. On one end is T, that's time. On the other end is money, okay? You're going to show this to your seller and say, here's the ink pen. Here, hold it. Now, where are you on this scale? Is time more important to you, or is money more important to you? And some sellers will tie themselves into a pretzel and say, but I want it to go fast and for top dollar. And you get to say, pumpkin, that's not how the range works. If you want it to go faster, you price on the lower end of the range. And if you want more money, you price on the higher end of the range, but it may cost you a little bit of time to get there. It's the consumer's choice. That's what great professionals do. That's what great leaders do. You show the choices. You don't walk in and declare things. That's really not lovable for anybody. So make sure you're showing this as they figure out how this works, because our days on market are changing and they're all over the place. A skilled professional knows the data in their marketplace. So I want you to go look yourself up. What are your days on market? What are the days on market in your zip code? And that way you have a data point that you can share. Daniel, that was right. See, I was right. It was prudential. Whoop, whoop. I remembered things, even though I'm of a medium age and I don't remember things. Okay, so let's talk about our business plans here for a second. Somebody said, I need help understanding where to get business from my past clients. Okay, do y'all want me to tell you the coolest tool I have discovered in recent times? I mean, I'm waiting for y'all to tell me in the comments that you want to see this tool that I found, because I'm about to come out of my skin to show y'all on the screen here. Somebody tell me in the comments that you want to see this tool, because holy crap. All right, so let me tell you about this. Actually, I did tell some realtors yesterday over in Rutherford County, North Carolina. I was visiting with the Foothills Realtors, and I told them about it, and the three of them were like, ooh, and the rest of them looked clueless, which means some of them were prepared and some were not. And so here's what I'll tell you. If you are in the business, and if you are in any business, mortgage, real estate, selling hand stationery down the street, you should have a database, and your database should have people you have done business with, the past clients. It should have the future clients. Some of them are prospects because you have fully vetted them, and some are suspects. They just came through your pipeline and you haven't really had a meet and greet with them yet. And then some are your friends, and some are your family, and some are the people from church, and some are from your old job. So that's your database. So starting point number one, if you don't have that in a format, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, if you're cheap, or it's in Top Producer or KV Core, which is now called Bold Trail, whatever program you have to have all those people in a list. All right. That is a CRM. That is role number one of ever achieving a business plan, is to know where you start. Okay. So we're going to get the list together. Now, if you're like most realtors, including like me, you wake up in the morning with a plan. And then because you're in real estate, your day goes completely sideways, because now you have to show this one house, and now you had an offer to come in, and now you've got to deal with this, and then you've got this, and your day turns into bubbles and notifications. And all of a sudden that wonderful plan that you had is dead. And you knew that you were supposed to go to that CRM and call somebody. And y'all can know that I'm right about this, because you know I'm right. And especially if you've been in a long time. I will tell y'all right now, I'm the worst at following up with my database because it's too big. There's like 12,000 names in it, because I've sold over 4,000 houses in my 25 years. And the other names are, some of them are agents and some are friends, and some of them are deals I lost. And, you know, it's just a whole manner of things. So then I find this tool. Let me stick it on the screen for y'all. So, you know, I don't like AI, right? You know, I think it's a tool of the devil. I'm just going to say that I don't think this one is a tool of the devil, because I like it. So full disclosure, this is the one I like. So this program is, go to prospectprotool.com and you'll get a link to it. It's called Fellow, Fello. And there's a QR code. So snatch that off the screen. Here's how it works. They take their tool and they plug it into your CRM, into your world. So I have Bold Trail, which was KV Core. So this plugs in, pulls up all my people, tells me what they owe on the house because it pulls their mortgage, plus it pulls HELOCs and anything recorded down the courthouse. Whoop, whoop. And it's going to tell me who's on title. I mean, is there somebody in my database that sold their house and did not call me? There's lots of those, and it hurts my feelings every time. But frankly, it's on me because my follow-up is not great when I'm busy. I'm honest, y'all. And this tool goes in and figures out how long they've been in a house, and it starts bubbling up leads for me. It also plugs in with Follow-Up Boss so that it will help you with your follow-up. It's amazing. It's amazing. But I will tell you, when you have your little prospect call with them, when they do your demo, they're going to tell you how much business you've lost by not following up with people. And you're going to throw up in your mouth a little bit. And then after you've had that little come to Jesus meeting with yourself, now you have the chance to go call people and you'll know who to call. Because I would say this, one of the reasons that any small business or entrepreneur does not do good follow-up is A, you don't know who to call. B, you don't know what to say. And then C, it's so big. It's the whole elephant thing. Well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And this is the bite, y'all. And it's actually way more affordable than I expected. And it's less expensive if your database is smaller. So if you're a more established agent like myself and you've been in a long time selling a lot of houses, it's going to cost you a little more than it does for somebody else. But I'm just going to say this. Holy smokes. Check it out. Look, I'll have one of my agents on the call with me, and we had to cut the man off. And I said, done, quit selling. I need to buy this. And I don't know the last time I've done that, because I got to tell y'all, did everybody get the QR code before I take it off the screen? Let me talk for one more second for those of y'all that did not get your phone up to get the QR code, or the website if you don't like QR codes. If you delegate something, so this is delegating, cleaning my database to an AI tool, because, oh, I forgot to tell y'all, if all you have is an email address, this is going to go scooting out and find their information for a dime. So it's doing the work that I should have done. Okay, fine. I'm going to use a tool to get it cleaned up so then I can do my human piece. When you delegate something to someone, whether it's to your assistant or it's to an AI tool or it's to a virtual assistant or to your spouse or your kids, whenever you delegate something, you're still doing it. Hear me on that. Delegation is still doing. All this means is that you're being freed up to do the right things with your time. Because to be honest with you, if you are a professional realtor, a professional loan officer, a professional gallery owner, you don't have time to clean up your list. You don't have time to clean your database. You should, but you don't, because your time has to be spent in what we call revenue producing activities. If you're going to reset your business plan, hear me on this. Your life is made up of two kinds of activities: revenue producing and non-revenue producing. Revenue producing activities for realtors, being in front of buyers in a consultation to explain your value and have them sign a buyer broker agreement. Listing appointments where you explain your value, you win their trust and have them sign a listing agreement. And negotiations where you are managing between buyers and sellers so that every consumer gets what they want at the end of the day. Those are your revenue producing activities. Cleaning your database is an NRP, non-revenue producing activity. Now, it looks like it could generate revenue in the future, but the act of doing that cleaning work is not revenue producing. And that's when you delegate that out to someone who is more skilled at administrative tasks than you are. Because y'all, that's not your skill. A great realtor is seldom skilled at administrative tasks. Let's just be honest. That's why y'all miss initials. Or I have this one deal going right now, and I adore the agent on the other side. And we're supposed to close next week. We had to fix a name on the contract. And she brought her sweet charm and charisma to me. And she goes, we did the buyer's name wrong. And what did I say? I got you, girl. And so we've handled it because she caught an error. She brought her charm and personality forward to fix it. I love that kind of honesty and humility. We fixed it. She's still one of the best co-broke agents I've had in forever. And Kara, if you're watching this, high five, sister, for being such a joy on the other side of this transaction. But the reason that we let things like that fall through, we're not administrative professionals. So that's when you get somebody that is a pro who's good at emails, phone numbers, updating. And maybe that's a human in your office, and maybe it's an AI tool like the one I just showed y'all. I can't can't even with this. So I'm just going to remind you that when you're freed up to do buyer consults, listing presentations, negotiating, if you're a lender, this is buyer meetings, this is helping them lock a rate. These are the things that produce revenue. It is the non-revenue producing things that you need to surround yourself with somebody to help you. All right. Which, by the way, that's another business plan tip you need to take forward for the rest of 2025. And I'm going to say this to Lee Brown too. Stop saying yes to everything. Just stop. You're saying yes to some of the wrong things. And I'll point this out when we look at a market that's not doing perfectly. Sometimes you say yes to everything because you're so anxious, but your anxiety is leading you into the wrong pathway when you really should be focusing. So I want you to figure out what you could focus on for the rest of 2025. If you're the person who wants to sell more houses, what's the gap to sell more houses? Is it more time spent in the business, or is it less of this time spent in the business? Do you need to put down the social media? Do you need to step away from the doom scrolling that's eating your life up? For some of y'all, do you need to cut the news off and quit looking at it? Because if it adds to your anxiety, you can't call somebody and cheerfully ask them if they have questions about real estate. Because I will tell you, I get my inbox full every morning of headlines about real estate. I can't read some of them, y'all, because it's not helpful. It is wildly misconstrued in the media, what we do and how we do it. And let me give y'all an example of why the news is not your friend, okay? This is very important for your business planning, that you get your time managed and your blinders on. I read an article from a very well-known national publication written by a very esteemed journalist whining about how much money realtors make. And their argument was, in some states, realtors make this many dollars, and in other states, they make this many dollars. And this very astute journalist, and I have to use air quotes because this was the dumbest thing I may have ever read. I think I lost 8 brain cells listening to this. It said that you realtors in Massachusetts, you make more commission on a house than realtors in West Virginia do. Can y'all even imagine the level of stupidity it takes to write that in a national news article? Do they not understand cost of living, cost of real estate? I mean, come on. That is my example as to why the news is not your friend. And so if you want to get focused on your real estate business, you got to cut some things off, say no to some things. For me, y'all may have already noticed on social media, I post and ghost. I love y'all, and I got to come back, and I try to come back in and look at comments and see who's got something and send me a message. I love reading your messages. I really do, but I can't spend all day in there because my day will be gone and I have clients that need my attention. So I post and then I get out, and I've turned all the notifications off on my phone. If y'all want to see my phone, you want to see what's not on there right now, there's a few red bubbles because I've had this on for y'all, but cut it off. You've got to. It's good for your health. It's good for your well-being. Touch grass. Go outside. All right, now let's talk about what else I was supposed to tell you about. Oh, while I'm talking about social media, if you're the person who's got to do more video, and somebody put in the comments that they're doing market in a minute, high five. Y'all, that script is available on my website. I just dropped my Thursday market in a minute today. Go get the script and make your own. The public really needs to know what's happening in your market. Or who was it that said in your neck of the woods? Was that Al Roker? I can't remember. Or is that Willard Smith? I can't remember which. I can't remember. I don't remember anything anymore because I'm in the We Do Not Care Club. And if y'all aren't following Just Being Melanie, she's my favorite follow on Instagram and TikTok. But when you look at your neck of the woods, Concord, I'm sitting in 28025. This behaves differently than 28027, which is also Concord. This behaves differently than 28081 Kannapolis, which is right next door. Your market's the same way. Market in a minute allows you to put that message out there without being dry, dull, and boring. And that's how most of y'all do your market updates. If you're a lender, the equivalent is people talking about interest rates, which they don't understand. So talk about something that's more impactful, like what does the payment look like with these dollars? Or if you are a small business owner, I love the ladies who own Press and Porter. It's our coffee shop staple right here in downtown Concord. They're going to look at their market and say, what are people buying? They're going to change their menu based on what consumers want. In June, what would y'all guess is selling more than it is in December? Oh, that's right. Iced coffee. And so they're going to adapt to it. Market in a Minute tells the public that you adapt. So what I do is I use video for that because that's how people absorb information. Y'all are all sticking here with me on this live stream, and I can see how many of y'all are here, and y'all need to make some more comments and give me some more hearts because I'm going to have a heart palpitation if I don't see some love come across. But what I will tell you is that if I typed all this up, y'all wouldn't read it. You would intend to, and you would never get around to it. But now that AI is in all your email, it's going to summarize it at the top, and it's going to say Leigh Brown talked about way too many things, and you won't read it. So you talk about things on video because then people know you're not AI. They can see your eyes, they can hear your voice, they know you're not a bot. As the world gets more and more addicted to AI and to technology, it's going to need more and more real people. Video is your way to do that. And so if you want to get some tips for content, some tips for how to get over your fears, that's my video class. I'm just going to take that back off the screen now and go back to your comments. But I will tell you, video changed my business, and it doesn't have to take over your life either. I schedule my videos, and some of y'all have already noticed, well, Leigh Brown, you're wearing a different top than you wore in the Market in a Minute, 9 o'clock this morning. Because I did not make that video today. I did make it this week, so it's still relevant. Let me go back to my comments over here. All right, let's see. Oh, it was Willard Scott. Thank you, Sandra. So I knew somebody would remember which one it was. What's it? Al Roker says something, but he's cute with his 100-year-old, just like Willard was. All right, let's talk about in our business plan. I had this wonderful comment here who said she's got a geographic farm she likes to work in. So that would be a neighborhood area. It could be a zip code, could be a specific subdivision. And there are other agents living there. Well, spoiler alert, my granddaddy always said, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a realtor. And then when I was little, one time I asked him why he was swinging dead cats around. He didn't answer me. And so I let it be at that point, because some things you should not ask your papa, and God rest his soul. And so there's realtors everywhere. Can we all agree on something? Not all realtors are created equal. There are some who are absolute tippy-top professionals driving hard every day. I'm just going to wager a guess that's y'all, because you're here with me trying to figure out how to give yourself a little juice to get to the end of the year. And then there are realtors who just don't care. They're going to sell one house every other year to a cousin, a friend, and their care level is low. They're not up to speed on changes in the profession. They don't know what's happening in the structure of real estate. They don't understand lawsuits and legislation because they're just not dialed in. So there's two extremes. So those 6 to 8 agents in your neighborhood may or may not have a high level of skill. All right. You got to go ahead and acknowledge that. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with acknowledging that there is a wide array of skill and expertise in real estate. Just like there's a wide array of business models, the consumer can pick from any kind of agent they want. So which kind are you going to be? And it's okay if you want to sell a house every 2 years. You're just not going to have the same level of knowledge as somebody that sells a house a week. It's just not possible unless you spend all your time studying. But let's just be honest. Studying and doing are two entirely different things. It's kind of like people who take leadership classes, but then they never run for office and they never do a leadership role. Well, they've learned a lot by reading about it, but haven't done anything with it. And one of them's scary and one of them's not. It is scary to go do things. I get it. It's scary to get on the phone and call people. It's going to be scary to compete in a neighborhood with 6 or 8 other agents, because let's just make a big jump here. Let's just say we have 8 amazing agents in that neighborhood. They are all tippy top. They are all just the best. I mean, they know their game. They are full-time. You are competing with the best. You know what? That's going to make you one of the best, because we play better golf with better golfers. We all know those adages are very true for a reason. Well, this person says, how do I position myself besides direct mail? First of all, good job using direct mail. So many agents have quit using it. They're missing a great opportunity there. And one of the ways you can use direct mail is, of course, just sold cards. That's one of the things that hasn't changed over the life of real estate. People still can't help but look at a just sold card because they'd like to know what it's sold for. And some people just are not cruising the internet as much as you have assumed that they are. And so you can give them good information. But this agent says there is a clubhouse I can use for events. What? But I've never used it. For 13 years, she's been in this community, hadn't used a clubhouse. Come on now. Are you for real? You got somewhere to have an event? All right. So what does the event look like? What I will tell you is it depends on your personality, friend. And I do hope you're watching today. And for those of y'all that are thinking, well, that wasn't me, but it could have been. your event doesn't have to look like everybody else's event. When it's about November, y'all have noticed there are agents all over the country that do these pie giveaways. Y'all, I tried a pie giveaway one time, and it was the worst event I may have ever done because I'm not the pie girl. First of all, to have that quantity, I think 400 pies we had to give out. Had to buy them at the BJ's, and that was store-bought. And I don't do store-bought if I can help it because I like to cook, but I couldn't make 400 pies. And so I had to buy them, and I'm sitting in my office looking at these pies, and they were sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, and I kept having clients message back in, hey, can't make it. Hey, not going to make it. We gave away like 20, and I'm sitting here looking at 380 pies, and I said, Lord, what we going to do? We called, of course, the local shelter for battered women, and I offered it to them, and they were delighted to have it because they have some food ministry partners in town. And so we did something great with it, and it felt good, but it wasn't really an event that was going to drive me business. So I looked at my team, I said, what do y'all think? And they said, never again. And I said, high five. And so that's when we learned how to do a shredding event, which I actually learned that from my Israeli mother, Orly Steinberg, up in New Jersey. I love Orly so much. Look up onlyorly.com. She's amazing. So she was doing these shredding events, and I was watching and learning from her, thinking I could do that. And we've now been doing it for, 15 years, and we do 2 a year, and people can drive up and get rid of their documents. And it's a wonderful way for us to interact with people in a way that provides benefit. I have to do something that's got a real tangible benefit outside of caloric intake. So just think about what fits your personality. Some of y'all will have big Christmas parties where everybody can come and mix and mingle. That's great. Not my style. I don't have mixing and mingling in me at the end of the day. Online interaction is approximately what this introvert can handle. And so know yourself, know where you're going to have a great impact. So if I had a clubhouse, you might think about a back to school event. We're going to be seeing school start back up before long. Maybe you want to have people drop off backpacks. You want to do a donation event. Maybe you're going to have a face painting event for kids the last week before school goes back in. Maybe you have a celebrate your kindergartner. And even though the neighborhood's 55 plus, you know who comes to visit over there. Maybe you have grandparents day out and say, bring your precious pumpkin for face painting and balloon animals, and we'll give them some sugar, and then you can welcome back home, and then they'll crash out before their parents come. Think about the way that you meet the neighborhood where they are. You could also think about what a 55 plus neighborhood might need in that clubhouse. You could bring in an estate specialist to talk about what the phrase per stirpes means. And if y'all don't know, it needs to be in your will. I even made a video about it. So go back to how your content should change as you go through the year. You learn it, put it back out there to your client base. You could have a client event about that. You could talk about how they could fund their grandchildren's home for college, because I've got a college kid. College is expensive. Room and board is stupid. So what if a grandparent wants to buy a little 3-bedroom house near the state university so they can provide housing 18 years from now for their child? Educational events work like that. Now, if you're the person who says, Billy Brown, I don't know anything about that, bring an expert. That's the key. You could have an expert event with a person from the state university. So I see somebody from Michigan was over here. So maybe you would call somebody from Ann Arbor, which one's in Ann Arbor? Is that U of M? Whichever one's in Ann Arbor, you might call Alex Milstein. He's a realtor up there. And maybe you call an estate lawyer up there. Maybe you call somebody from University of Missions, and you have a little Michigan party at your clubhouse, although this person's in Cape Cod. So pick a college nearby. There's so many things you could do, y'all. Just get out of your own way. And by the way, I'm going to tell y'all the best advice ever from Charlie Daniels. Y'all remember Charlie Daniels with The Devil Went Down to Georgia, one of the best songs ever done? Well, here is what Charlie said. If you have an event, because I'm a realtor too, all right, and 3 people come, you are going to be crushed. You're going to say, they don't like me, and it will beat you down. I get it. Don't do that. I want you to do what Charlie Daniels did. He said, never look at the empty seats. Always focus on those who did show up. You want to talk about Leadership 101. Focus on who's already in the room. You will attract more people later. Don't worry about them right now. Worry about who's there. Because if you have an event and 3 people show up, you get to pour into them. Ask them what's going on in their lives. Ask them what questions they have. Perhaps they have something they brought with them to be answered and you don't have the information. You can say, you know what, friend, I'll get back to you. I will find out. Because you can get an amazing relationship started with a small group too. In fact, now you're realizing that might even be better than a giant crowd where one loudmouth takes the microphone and eats all the energy out of the room. So remember, be Charlie Daniels. Always look at the full seats, not the empty ones. Let me jump over here to the comments and let's see. Oh, this is a wonderful question over here. Lots of people are retiring from the business. I would like, okay, so Michelle, you are cracking me up. I've been in since 76 and you're looking at the retiring agents. That's hilarious. I do love that real estate has no age limit on it. You can truly do this business until the last door that you close is the top of your coffin. And so when you want to talk to agents that are leaving the business, my suggestion is look for the values fit. And if you're noticing anything, that should be one of your clues throughout your business plan. Am I focusing on the people where I have a values fit? Am I bringing talents to the table that match me and are going to allow me to fulfill what they're looking for? You don't have to be all things to all people. Do I have to remind y'all of that? You don't have to be generic. You don't have to be anything other than your most amazing, fearfully, and wonderfully created self. So, Michelle, as you're figuring out who you are and you know your talents, maybe you are the best at luxury golf course homes. Maybe you are the first time buyer queen. Maybe you do land, you do investments, whatever your specialty is. Look for the other agents in your market that have had some business in that space. And you would call them and say, ringy dingy, hey, Betty, this is Michelle Moniz, I'm probably saying it wrong, Moniz, and this is Michelle M. And I saw that you have worked a few first-time buyer condominiums as I have. I would like to know if we could just have a cup of coffee and then go have a cup of coffee and talk about the market a little bit. What do you see and what do you see? And say, you know what? I'm trying to find out if there's any agents that are thinking about retiring. They're thinking about moving to Florida and would like to have a partner here who would take amazing care of their people and never cut them out. Do you know anybody? And then Betty says, well, funny you say that, Michelle. I just bought a place down in Fort Lauderdale and I'm ready to go. And then you can say, let's put together a proposal. I will pay you X in referral fees. I will keep your name in front of people. I will make you look great. That's always going to be part of the conversation. I've seen a lot of younger agents who want to inherit a more seasoned agent's book of business, but they forget that those people are loving of that first agent. And so they don't necessarily want them replaced. You get to be the one that says, I'd like to keep your name and your legacy alive, your legacy of ethics and competence and amazing professionalism in real estate. That's where you start having those connectivities, is understanding who you are, who you serve, who else is serving that niche, and then how you show them a benefit to letting you run their business. Oh, I love this. I like to do a charity event to raise money for charity together. That's fantastic. Kimberly, I don't know how to say your name either. See, Helena loves her pie day. See, I told y'all agents love it. This is so amazing. All right, let's see. Oh, Lauren runs a nonprofit. Me too. So let's just talk about that for a second. The business plan for a nonprofit includes often fundraising, which is no different than in real estate, creating a buyer and seller leads. So if you're going to fundraise for your nonprofit, what's your nonprofit do? You can't do all things for all people. I will say that running Patriot Relief, it's very tempting to do everything for everybody, but then I can't serve really well. And one of my most amazing partners in this process is my friend Austin Linebury. He's a builder in Atlanta, Georgia, and he is a luxury builder. So I look at his Instagram for New River Builders and I feel all kinds of swoon over the houses, and I realize I sell normal houses and it's not my market, but I still enjoy it. Austin told me one time that a spiritual mentor of his reminded him, do for one what you wish you could do for all. Isn't that great advice for our nonprofit worlds, for our real estate businesses, for our children? Do for one what you wish you could do for all. Maybe if we weren't spread so thin, we could do a better job for everybody, says the person who can't say no to anything. But I'll just remind you, that's also how you get funds coming in for your organization, is to know who you serve, why you serve them, and being really laser focused on that. And y'all should totally go give Austin and New River Builders a follow. And if you want house envy, you're going to get it. I'm just going to go ahead and warn you about that. All right, what's over here in the comments? Did I get everybody that had a question? Oh, let's see. Here's one that came in. I'm a buyer's agent. The seller is not offering to pay compensation on behalf of the buyer's rep. The buyer doesn't have any money. It wouldn't work, so I backed out. Okay, so all right. So first of all, Real estate is in a new world right now. So if you are a seasoned realtor, you're probably a little bit more hung up than a brand new one who's figuring things out. So when a buyer hires a buyer's agent, they're generally hoping that the fee for their broker can be worked into the deal somehow. That's generally how it works because our buyers have saved up their down payment. This particular buyer doesn't have the fee for their agent. They do have their down payment, and the seller is not willing to cover it. So the agent backed out. What I will say is this, and you're not going to like this answer. Sometimes you do work pro bono. Sometimes you might work for $1 so that there is some compensation. By the way, always talk to your broker about this. Always check with your errors and omissions policy to see what you can and can't do. There are times when you make a sacrifice for the other person in the business. But what I would say to that buyer is, because I can't charge my normal fee here because of the scenario that we're in, but I want you to get the house that you want, will you commit to going out and finding me 3 more people who need a professional realtor? Your buyer can go become an evangelist for you. And of course, you still have to convince that new person of your value. You still have to figure out the compensation package for each one of them. It can look wildly different every time, but that could be a way to work through this. I don't think I could sleep at night if I didn't figure out a way so my buyer could get the house they wanted just because the other side was being stubborn. Now, I do hope they can't sleep at night because they've made things difficult for the buyer, but we're in a tricky transition time right now. And what do you do when your entire business is being disrupted? What do you do when your entire industry is being disrupted by outside forces you can't control? What do? You got lawyers coming after the business. You've got venture capital, AI. You've got competitors on every street corner. So what are you supposed to do? And now you got people that don't even want to compensate you fairly. Well, you get up in the morning, take a shower, put your face on, put your clothes on, do your devotion, go for a walk. Maybe you walk before you shower. Get yourself moving, because sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not. But if you stop, then nothing's ever going to work. I will take some losses along with my wins to get the wins. And that's the hardest advice I can give you right now. This is not a pretty time to be in real estate. But as I've already mentioned, this is the time people need you the most. I will say this. I've learned so much in working in Western North Carolina after Helene, and the resilience of the people up there has been just nothing short of miraculous. And I've run into a lot of roadblocks. There are people that have wanted to roadblock me. There are ugly things that have been said, and there's questions about money. Generators have been stolen. I had to help break up a fight between 2 people that were tweaking. They were fighting over a broom. It was just a whole thing. And you encounter all these things. And what's the alternative? You keep going when it doesn't feel great, or you quit. I can't quit. I need you to not quit too. Because without you, what's that buyer going to do? Get steamrolled by a seller? We can't do that, y'all. We can't do it. All right, let's see if there was anything over here. Oh, y'all are just saying some nice things about me. I appreciate that. Y'all forgot to give me some hearts over here. I need some hearts on my screen. I'm going to cry, especially on the YouTube side. They need some likes and bells or something. Do I share time on market? Oh, makes people wonder what's wrong with it. Yes, I do. And look, I got to tell y'all, some of you agents, I love you so much. You're probably not the ones on here because y'all are the choir. So I'm going to preach to the choir. There are agents out there that get in the way of deals all the time. I had a buyer that wanted to make an offer on something, but then the agent kept coming back, being more and more difficult with demands from the seller. We had not even submitted an offer. And my buyer was like, this isn't right. And so she went away. And well, that seller might think that the agent did something wrong, but the agent should say to the seller, hey, look, I know I'm your messenger, but the more aggressive we are, the harder it is for the buyer to say yes. And so we want the buyer to say yes. So I tell my buyers, if I see something on the market 90 days, I know that something's up with the price as compared to condition, because in any market, the right price on a house will make it fly. And if you want to know if I'm right about that, ask yourself this. Any house you've seen out there on the market, anything you've seen at the grocery store, I buy clearance at the grocery store. Y'all might think I'm crazy. My husband hates it. I bring home things with a little red sticker on them. But you know what? That food is still good. I don't trust these Best Buy expired by dates. It's marketing, right? So I'm in there shopping. If it's a penny, do you know what I'm buying? Everything on the shelf. You could show me these houses out here. There might be one that is a rattle trap mess with the yellow caution tape. Don't walk up in here. You know what I would do if it's $1? Buy it. There's always a buyer. All right. So the question is, where is the buyer between $1 and the number you're at right now? And that's what your client probably doesn't want to hear. If I'm walking by a store and I see something beautiful and the price is here, I'm going to keep walking. But if the owner hollers out and says, hey, it's 40% off, you know what I'm doing? I'm going to turn around and go right back over to it. It's not the item, it's the price. And so the buyers need to understand that no matter what the scoop is with the house, the price always accommodates it. And your sellers need to know this too. Because remember this, anybody selling a house right now lived through 2021. And there were no days on market in 21 or really in 22. 23 was starting to grow a little bit. 24, we've had a little more creep. We got a little creep right now. It's still way shorter than 2010. I'll just remind y'all of that. But when you start looking at that, you got to talk to your sellers about what that looks like. You also got to talk to your buyers and tell them this is not the 2 minutes on market anymore. 2 minutes on market anymore. The markets have moved. And I'm frankly glad for that. I think it's better for buyers and sellers alike that we do have home inspections and appraisals and surveys back in the process again. All right, let's see if there's any over here. My take, that Stephen is asking, there's a new Massachusetts inspection law taking effect October 15th where offers can no longer disclose whether or not there is a home inspection. Well, the law was co-written by home inspectors. I don't know that law, Stephen. So do me a favor and drop me the number and information on that legislation so I can read it, because as we know, legislation is contagious and what's happened in Massachusetts could absolutely happen here. So I'll be glad to read about that. I'm a disclosure person, no matter what. I think we should disclose, just because it's better for the consumer to know what they're getting into. Okay, now let's see what else we had on here for your questions. Oh, here's a good one. Yay, perfect timing. This one says, I've taken 18 months off from real estate. So you took off from, the beginning of the lawsuit drama until now. So interesting time to take off from real estate, because in the time that you were out until you're back in, the world looks entirely different. Okay, now it says, I'm renewing my membership for working with seniors. Any advice on getting back out there? You want to hear this? You know what it is. Just get back out there. I will tell you this. You just got to talk to people. If there's anything I can tell y'all about real estate, is that visibility is your number one friend. Just show up. Maybe you show up for your local political club meetings. Maybe you show up to volunteer at the Arts Council. Maybe you show up to work in a community garden. Just show up and be visible. That's your number one job in real estate, is to be visible. And now hopefully when you're not being visible in the public, you're doing some research so you'll bring some value to that consumer. But after 18 months, the thing you have to know is that the market really has stabilized in some areas. It's gotten harder in some areas and better in some areas. It's very uneven. But what the consumer needs to know is this. It doesn't matter if we're talking about stock market hiccups caused by tariffs. It doesn't matter if we're talking about interest rates being jacked in 2022. It doesn't matter if we're talking inflation. It doesn't matter if we're talking inventory. It doesn't matter. Houses are bought and houses are sold in every kind of market condition. I've got to remind y'all of that. As you figure out what your business plan looks like, houses are bought, houses are sold. Nonprofits are funded, and nonprofits are not funded. Paper stationery is bought and stationery is sold. Loans are taken out and then loans are repaid. Everything has cycles. Nothing goes to complete zero. I mean, except photography. It just changed, so it changed to digital. Oh, what about travel? No, travel just went digital. Oh, what about horse and buggy just turned into cars? Notice this. Everything that you think went to zero didn't. It just changed. And who adapted with it? Some, and some didn't adapt. So after 18 months off, you're just going to come in. I would absolutely go down to my local board of realtors, a local association, and ask if there is somebody that can bring you up to speed on what's changed with the profession, what's changed with our organizations, what's changed with legislation and regulation where you are. We got Stephen over here mentioning some new legislations happening in Massachusetts. If you were out for 18 months, you might not know that. So go talk to them and get the information. And frankly, ain't this the craziest part? You'll have been out for 18 months and more up to speed than the ones that never took a minute off. Okay, we got somebody here that says, oh, Mary, I've lost several deals in the last several months to folks I know, and they know me and like me. I want to remind people of why they should call on me and be top of mind more. Okay, so first of all, there's something to remember here. Not everybody's going to use you, even if they like you and love you. All right, so give yourself the reminder that them not choosing you does not make you less valuable. It does not mean you are not an amazing human and an amazing professional. It has nothing to do with that. You don't have access to all the information. We don't know why they pick who they pick. This is one of the hardest things in real estate because we deal with a financial instrument that happens to be emotional, okay? So you go over here and say, they didn't pick me. I don't need to know why, but I do need to make sure they knew I was here. Make sure they're aware that you're an option. So when they're aware that you're an option, keep going and talk to them. And think about what you can put out into the world that would cause people to talk to you. In marketing, there's two kinds of marketing. There's push marketing. That would be things like postcards. You're pushing it into a mailbox. Open houses, you are pushing the house to the public. And then there's pull marketing. Pull marketing makes people reach out to you and ask a question. So for example, in my Market in a Minute videos, I love saying to let me know if you want me to talk about your neck of the woods, your zip code, your area. People can reach out to me and say, I don't want my name exposed, but tell me about my area. And then I can do that for them. So if you want to be top of mind, conversation. It's always about conversation. Carrie says, if I didn't get to your question, will I answer it privately? I have several hundred, Carrie, so I probably won't get to everything privately. But if there's something you need me to answer, type it in right now on my screen. I'm looking for a Carrie right quick, but I'm going to eat up all my time hunting. So drop it on the screen for me right quick, and I will see if I can answer it for you right there. Now, as I'm looking for that question, and by the way, I do like to make videos all the time. If you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. If you have not shared this with one of your realtor besties, please do. Y'all, my feelings are a little bit hurt. I was in Boston this week with an amazing group, the Leigh Realty Partners, and most of the room had never heard of me. And I was like, what? I thought I was ubiquitous. But then I remembered that over 30% of realtors got into the business less than 5 years ago. So they don't know some of the old guard like me. So you got to let them know. All right. So let me give y'all another piece of information while Carrie puts her information up there. If you were thinking that you'd like to do what I do and present and teach and be the person who helps educate fellow realtors, because we have so many that are fresh in the business and they need your guidance, I am having a speaker boot camp. I normally do this in person, but we're doing a virtual option because of some demand, request, but I'll call it demand. You can sign up right here. It's a day and a half. What I'll give you is all the tools that you need to figure out how to bring your knowledge and your heart to a brokerage or an association near you to help make real estate better. This is also good if you're a nonprofit, if you are in leadership and you just want a better way to present, you want some information on skills, we'll have your skills. You can get signed up right there. Let me jump back over to comments. And Helena's just telling me I'm famous. Well, you're so cute with y'all. I told somebody the other day, they're like, oh, I've seen you on the TikTok. And I said, yes, I have an iPhone and the internet, and much to everybody else's dismay. All right. Now, in regard to that question, I'm waiting on Carrie to post hers because I think she's got a bee in her bonnet, and I can't wait to help as she's typing right there. What I want you to know is that I do have a coaching program, and I designed this one for people on a budget, frankly, because a lot of agents have wasted a lot of money in coaching over all the years, including this agent. I've signed up for every program out there. And what I learned is that I would sign up for a 12-month contract, pay a lot of money, take the first couple calls, and then start dodging the calls because I was too busy and not doing what they said to do, which is, I think, typical. So You Ask Leigh Answers is my whole video library for every one of these topics y'all are asking about. I've got information there. And then as you have questions, you can submit your question and I'll answer it for you. So you still get access to me. It's just going to be at a way more affordable cost. I think we have a deal there today. Today's subscription is 25 LBU 25 is our discount code today. I know I should just go ahead and leave the readers on, y'all, but I'm so vain. What can I do? So that's my coaching program. And yes, it's very inexpensive because I just want it to be available to as many as possible. So if you love your broker, but you're not getting the education there, education might not be their talent, and that's okay. I will help you stopgap, but there's going to be moments when I say to y'all, ask your broker. AYB is one of the most important things we say in this business. Let's see. Okay. So Carrie's question is, she's the one that has gone full time, and I did high five you on that earlier. And she says she's spending a lot of money and not getting a return on leads. You've already reached out to your sphere of influence. Okay. So when we say reach out, I'm going to be I'm going to be hard mom here, okay? When we say reached out to sphere of influence, you have to be aware that it takes a lot of outreach to break through the noise. And when I say noise, people are looking at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the news, their parents, their friends, their noise everywhere is noise. There's very little quiet in our lives. And so if you're the real estate pro who reached out one time and then you didn't reach back out again, a month from now, they've heard from a lot of other things. And then they drove by the house they were thinking about, and then they got an app and they've totally forgotten you. And so what we know is that the average American adult retains a marketing message for 21 days. Well, actually, they used to. Now it's down to 16. They don't even retain the marketing message. Even if you're offering something crazy cool, they don't remember it. Frankly, it's why when I do a free session, I include my coaching program, because some of y'all don't know I have it. I got to remind you, right, in case you want it. And so you think about the program that was designed by Larry Kendall. He created Ninja Selling. Larry is from the group out in Fort Collins, Colorado, one of the most talented brokers and instructors ever to live. He's, of course, still alive, and he's not old. And his business partner, Chris McElroy, one of the biggest hearted humans in real estate. Look up those Colorado legends anytime. Buy their books. Ninja Selling talks about the 8 in 8. So carry that whole sphere of influence. Once a week for 8 weeks, you're going to touch them. Maybe you're going to send them a 4th of July reminder. You're going to say, hey, come out and see me at the parade on July the 4th. Independence Day is coming. And y'all, you know, next year is the 250th birthday of the country, right? Next year is going to be client party extravaganza for all of us who sell the American dream. Can you even imagine? I got to plan something big. And so you might make that one of your touches. July 4th is coming. And then it's, here's a coupon to an ice cream shop, because if you go to your local ice cream shop, they might give you a coupon to give to your clients. And then your next one might say, hey, there's some updates on the market. Click here to get a quick home value. And then your next one says, don't forget that we need school bus drivers for the area. You could have your 8 things can be any kind of touch, but it's 8 weeks, 8 in a row. And you're going to think, Leigh Brown, that's too much. I'm going to aggravate them. No, you won't. But as long as you're delivering value, don't be gross. And for 8 times say, who do you know that needs to buy or sell? That's gross. Because every time you reach out, you are your name, your company affiliation, your phone number. They know what you're doing, because now you're beating it into them slowly and gently with good information. And at the end of the 8 weeks, then you're going to hit a rhythm. Every 14 to 21 days, you're going to touch them. Your sphere of influence isn't going to generate business right this second, usually. But over the next 12 months, it starts to expand. 24 months, it gets really expansive. 36 months, it gets crazy, which is part of why I had to go with a tool to help me figure out how to narrow down what I'm doing and to whom I'm touching, because it's so big. But also in real estate, I'll give you another tip on getting some business. Paying for leads, I don't like, because I don't think you need to. I think the human connection is better than internet people who get aggravated, that we call them. So get yourself involved. Go find a nonprofit that matters to you and pour yourself out, because it will come back to you. I promise. It's not an overnight thing. It's a long-term marathon way to build your real estate business. The other thing I will say is, if you have new construction near you, go visit your builder reps. Go talk to the model homes. Go figure out what they have in price point. Be delightful and friendly to them on a Tuesday or Wednesday when it's quiet in the model. And then ask them, may I sit an open house at your inventory home? May I help you over here? May I help a person who came in that wanted to buy, but they were looking for a resale home? There are ways, and you can do this. And part of it's just don't get in your own way. Last one, let's see. Oh, Lord, this one's kind of crazy. So we got to answer the crazy one. How do you effectively decline? And let me take this off the screen now. Did y'all all get your little QR code with your discount? And let me pull that down. Okay. Now, how do you effectively decline an assigned appraiser due to personal issues, or request not to be assigned to a specific appraiser due to past discrepancies up front? I would call the lender and tell them that if you've ever submitted a reconsideration of value, an ROV on an appraiser, there is a good reason to let them know that, because it's not that their values were wrong, but we all know how humans work. If you never submitted, though, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the hard truth here. If you have an issue with an appraiser, but you never submitted a reconsideration of value, I don't think you have a leg to stand on, because they're going to think you're on a personal witch hunt to hurt somebody, or they're going to think that you're trying to influence the value. You got to be very thoughtful, because many of our appraisers are realtor members. And there's a difference in a licensed appraiser and a certified residential appraiser. So you can request a certified residential appraiser. Just talk to the bank and say, hey, there's a fella by the name of Joe Bob over here, and I have submitted a reconsideration of value on Joe Bob's appraisal 2 times. I just don't think we have a name that's going to help us here. The bank can then get another appraiser, but you can't do it after the fact. All right. So be upfront is my best advice on that. Well, frankly, that's my life advice for y'all today is you get your business plan shaken up and get the dust wiped off. Know who you are. Know what you do. Know how important you are. And then don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. When you know those things, it's easy to put your shoulders back and get your business plan moving forward, because at the end of your business plan, at the end of every successful transaction that you do, every successful client that you touch is a life. It's the one thing I think we forget in our very divided world. Even when we're irritated with somebody, they're a human being. Something went on in their world. So we could know our strengths and we can show our kindness with our strength so that we can help create success for the person at the other end of it. That means your business plan is going to have some more successes this year. And I cannot wait for y'all to sign up for KickTail when it comes back at the end of the year. I can't wait to see some of y'all in the coaching program. I wish all of you would, but you won't, and that's fine. I love you anyway. What I want you to know is this. Real estate happens. You may as well be in the middle of it. Mortgages happen. You may as well be in the middle of it. Nonprofits need to serve their communities. Yours may as well be in the middle of it. So ask yourself this, all right? Most important thing I can tell you before you leave me today. If you give up and you stop working and you stop trying, the people that you love, who are they going to rely on? Without you, who fills the gap? You will realize that you're filling a gap that can only be filled by you. You are uniquely created for this time that you're in. And I wish you every success as you pick up the pieces of your business plan and drive it forward. I can't wait to see y'all. Click these bells to subscribe, click share, tell a friend, bring this to your sales meeting, because real estate doesn't really have to be as lonely as we make it, even if all we have is the internet. I'm Leigh Brown, signing off, and I'll see y'all around.